Got a Toshiba, another piece of crap junk TV that's not going to be repairable. I'm just setting you guys up for it in advance. This one's not going to be fixed, but we'll take a look at it anyway. This is a Toshiba 49L 420. That's the model of it. Anyway, this one here was brought in. This was actually, I guess, the gift that local cable company gives people for signing up, and it didn't last. It went dead. As you can see, this is pretty reflective. There's the DLP set that I did the color wheel on, a little over a week ago. Still working. Had this thing running 24 hours a day since that repair, and it's still going. Let's try powering this thing up and see what this thing does. I don't even see any lights on this thing. No power light. Oh, I saw a flash. Shining a flashlight reveals that the TV is actually working. It's just the backlight is out. See? I have a picture. Oh, there's a nice scratch on the screen. Great. I didn't do that. That's how it came to me. And some nice fingerprints. But we have a backlight problem. That's where good, powerful, bright, blinding LED flashlights are great. Just hit the screen at an angle, because if you hold it straight on, you get the reflection from the light back. But just hold the light at an angle, and you can see that this unit has a picture. So we have either a backlight failure or a power supply failure. Now the fact that the backlight's flicked on momentarily and then shut down, that's just the menu that went off there. If I press the menu button again, I'll get that back. There they are, you see, there's the menu. So let's pull this one apart. As you can see, this TV is not that old. Like, it's 3 years old. Manufacture date, August 2016. It's even got the Best Buy recycle on it. So this would have been a set, I guess, that was sold exclusively through Best Buy. So it's got their tag on the back of it, although maybe Best Buy in the States had an exclusive on this. But this one here, according to the guy that owns it, came as the gift when he signed up for cable TV service. The cable company has been giving away TVs. So let's say, gotta pull the back off this one. I've never had one of these ones apart before. Looks like there's a few screws to take out. We'll get the back off this one and see where we stand. To troubleshoot this set, it could be a backlight, but to determine whether it's a backlight that's at fault or a problem in the circuitry, what we need to do is we need to measure the return voltage from the backlights. So here are the backlights here. There are 3 strips. The positives are connected together. These are the return. And what we're going to do is we're going to measure the voltage using Mr. Voltmeter. We'll set it to min-max mode so that it will measure the minimum maximum rate range and try to determine which one is out of balance. So we're just going to ground one probe. Just got to get my power cord here so I can turn the set on. And then we're going to fire up the TV and measure the 3 separate circuits. Okay, you got 22 volts on that one. I was letting it discharge. Okay, try it again. 25 volts. .23 volts. We are looking pretty balanced on this. It might be a backlight problem on this set. It might be an LED that's gone bad, but there has been some known issues in the feedback circuit on these sets. We're going to check the feedback circuit just to make sure that there's not a problem on that board. So we're going to disconnect the power supply and of course discharge all the capacitors to make sure that everything is dead, because these things can hold a nasty charge. So make sure that all the filter caps are dead. You notice I disconnected everything before doing that, right? We'll take the board out. The positive terminal for the 3 banks of LEDs are over here. As you can see, they're connected together, and here are the 3 separate negative return for the LEDs, and they're controlled by these 3 transistors here, which control and measure the current. This is the circuit as drawn off of the circuit board. The LEDs feed into the collector of the driver transistor. The emitter is provided to ground through 3 resistors that equal 1.5 ohms in total, and it's also used to provide a current loop down to the IC at the bottom of the screen. Also, the voltage is monitored from the collector into the drive IC, and then the drive IC is driven through a 100 ohm resistor into the base of the transistor. So if any of those resistors go out of spec, you'll have a backlight that doesn't operate properly. Now, normally when that happens, you'll end up with quite a difference in voltage between the 3 strings. The one that goes bad will have a much different voltage, but in this case, all 3, the voltages were relatively the same, which kind of points towards the LEDs themselves having a problem and causing a failure. But let's check the components and see whether there's any bad components on the board. So our three output transistors correspond to the 3 lines going to the LEDs. We can measure the continuity if we measure from that string to that transistor, and the next string over is to this transistor, and the third string is to this transistor. So these are the transistors that control the LEDs, and they're controlled through a network of small little resistors here. And we're just going to measure the resistance on these and see if there's any open resistors, because what has been known to happen on some of these TVs is some of these resistors will go open and cause that backlight to go out. Now, it could still be the backlight that's causing the fault, but we have to eliminate the driver circuit before we start tearing apart the screen and getting into the backlight and see whether it's one of these resistors that's gone open. So I'm just going to measure these. These are fairly low ohm resistors, and I'm just going to call them out what they should be. This should be 100 ohms, which it is. This next one here is, what's the number on this one? A couple more 100 ohm resistors down here. Measure this one here. That's the 100 ohm resistor, as is this one here. Should be a 100 ohm resistor as well, I believe. Yeah, it's got a 101 on it. Is this a 100 ohm resistor, or is that one open? That one's 100 ohms. And there's a couple more. I should point out this is a really common failure on these sets when it's not the backlight, which in this case, it's the backlight. There's 2 more down here. 100 ohms. 100 ohms. These are all looking good so far. Ohms. So the values of these resistors are measuring actually okay. This one here is 1.6, 1.5 ohms. 1.5. 1.5. This one should be 100 ohm. This one should be 100 ohm. Yeah. Yeah, 100 ohms. That's a capacitor. This should be another 1.6 and a 1.6. Another 1.6 followed by 2 more 100 ohm resistors. So these ones are testing okay. Another 2 more, 3 more 1.5, 1.6. These ones are testing fine. I have a feeling it's going to be a backlight. It's going to be one of the LEDs that's failed on this thing. Is what the problem is going to be, which means I have to take the screen apart on this one because the driver circuit is checking okay. There's no opens. Quite often what happens on these is you get one of these resistors that will go open, but and they're driven from this IC here. Drives through the base drive of these transistors, but they're not open. So I contacted the customer and let him know that it's the backlight that's got a problem, and his advice was throw it out, take it to recycling. I don't want to put any money into it because it was a free TV that he got. So now it's my set. Let's see if we can find the backlight. So I guess what I need to do on this one is check the actual LEDs themselves and see which string has got a failure of an LED. Okay, I've got the edge connectors separated. I've got the feet off the unit, and all the screws that hold the bezel in place have been removed. So I should be able to lift the back off the set and leave the screen behind. Leave the screen on the bench if I can. Let's see if this will lift off. Don't you hate it when that happens? There was some bonding material at the top of the screen, and when I lifted the diffuser off it, it cracked the screen in the corner. Therefore, this one is now toast. There's no point in trying to repair the backlight, so I'm just going to strip the boards and send the thing on its way. Can't win them all again. I should quit while I'm ahead and stop looking at these bloody cheap pieces of crap TVs. Unfortunately, this is the future of all the TVs. Everything's being produced like this. This I think is probably a Vestel or something. It's really a piece of crap. But yeah, somehow the screen, which shouldn't be bonded to the diffuser on the top edge, was bonded. And when I went to lift up the diffuser, the glass cracked. Not a big one, but in the very edge. So not worth, it wasn't bonded on the other side. It was just one corner was stuck. So I don't know whether some adhesive got on it when it was being put together or whatever, but it damaged the screen. Anyway, this one's gone to recycling. I'm keeping the boards from it, and the rest of it is gone. Thanks for watching.